Don't let yourself be the one that got away. That is the message that came for me a couple of days ago in a meditation, and it really felt like it was something I was meant to share kind of collectively. So this is a reading that is for all 12 signs. You're all welcome to watch this. This is also the first video that I am putting out in 2025, so Happy New Year. I'm so glad to have all of you. If you have been following around for a while and haven't done so already, I really encourage you to hit that like and subscribe button, as well as the bell notifications, so you can always stay up to date with what's in the cards for you. I am also apologizing that it's been a little quiet. The holiday season was honestly pretty disruptive. I really felt the Mercury and Mars retrogrades in my own life, not gonna lie. And I've also just kind of been getting ready for the year ahead. So even though this is a timeless reading, I do feel like I'm going to be talking a bit about the astrology of 2025, as well as kind of the energy currents that are coming in. And this can potentially be, if you're watching this in the future, like looking back on 2025, there could be reconnecting with some theme or dynamic that is taking place now. Or maybe there is something that is just happening separate to the astrology, but the pattern, the mechanisms are still the same. The energy is still the same. So really just allow this to reach you and resonate with you regardless of when you're watching it. Don't get too in your head about it. Just kind of be open to what makes sense for you and trust your own discernment and intuition there. But anyway, the energy I was getting when I received this message, don't let yourself be the one that got away. It really felt like there was this powerful reclamation of self that was coming that felt really exciting and like very transmutative, like this sort of energy of being cracked open or broken open in a very beautiful way. And, you know, to kind of share a little bit of my own spiritual practice with all of you, I don't generally do this on this channel. I don't like to put that on my platforms. If anything, being in kind of the public eye, so to speak, has really made me value having my own sort of spirituality that's for myself, as well as people in kind of my inner circle, my communities. And, you know, I think it's actually important to have those separate worlds. But I have been working with Venus for a few years now, and originally my kind of intention with working with Venus was around healing my heart, as well as healing patterns I had in relationships that just weren't serving me anymore, specifically healing my attachment style. And I really do feel like I've grown a lot and healed a lot, and I've felt security in my relationships. And not just by ritualizing this work, I do think it made it more significant, but I also was going through therapy. I did art therapy, actually, that was really, really helpful, kind of incorporating some somatic components to that as well. So anyone who kind of struggles with like insecure attachment styles, those are sort of my recommendations. Try a multitude of different therapeutic models and modalities, because you're not just experiencing something in the head, you're experiencing it in the heart, you're experiencing it in the body. And so Venus wasn't just about me healing my relationships, it was also about me healing my body, my relationship with my emotions, and how I respond to that. And it felt like in this meditation, I was kind of reconnecting to Venus, to this archetype, which is generally how I view my sort of devotional work. I don't necessarily feel like it's like a materialized deity as much as it is an energy. Not to say that there's anything wrong with deity work. It's just kind of how I approach it. But Venus very much came forward, and I felt like made contact with me in a way that I didn't quite anticipate. Gave me that message. Don't let yourself be the one that got away. And also really reminded me that we are all in a relationship with ourselves. And I think it's so easy to forget that. And, you know, as someone who, I actually do practice polyamory myself, but even if you're monogamous, you're always going to at least be in a relationship with yourself. Even if you just share a commitment with one other person, you're going to always have a relationship to yourself, and very often it's one that we neglect. It's one that we don't acknowledge or remember. And don't let yourself wonder years later, who would I have been if I made these decisions, if I took that leap of faith, if I left that job, if I left that relationship, if I traveled, if I moved. It feels like right now we are being primed to transform and to shift. And when I look at the astrology for 2025, this feels very pivotal for a lot of people. I actually do have a 2025 forecast on my website, which I'll link in the description of this video. You can also just find links for everything in the description box or on my channel, wherever you're watching this. You should be able to find it. But one of the major things I talked about is that Saturn and Neptune are moving together in the sign of Aries. And Saturn is actually weakened or kind of degraded in the sign of Aries. And it also sort of dissolves and falls away, with Neptune kind of being this energy of transcendence. And if we just literally look at these two planets, we have crisis with Saturn and we have existentialism and transcendence with Neptune. It's literally like an existential crisis. People are having like a quarter-life crisis, a near-death experience, whatever sort of word or terminology we put around it. There is this kind of facing oneself right now that is happening, but it's happening in a way where these sort of restrictions and limitations that we've put on ourselves are dissolving because Saturn is weakening. And while there are some potential downsides to the loosening of restrictions and, you know, maybe some unchecked displays of power on a global level, on the personal level, though, this feels very profound. And to be honest, the astrology of 2025 and beyond really freaked me out for a while. But when I really sat down and understood what was happening on the individual level, I'm like, so for this. And it's the people that are going to be making history. It's the people that are going to be making the big changes and are joining together, especially as activists, as social justice activists, I think are going to be very key in kind of the next era with Pluto in Aquarius until 2044. So we do have a revolution on our hands, and it feels like we are at this turning in this new era now. And so for a lot of people, there is living this authenticity. There is something that is changing. And I think this is going to be one of those years where by the end of it, people aren't going to feel like who they were at the beginning of this year, especially those of you watching this, those of you who are kind of tuning in and feeling this energy. I did pull a couple of cards as well, and I will do a spread in just a moment, but this was just me shuffling the deck. I had the Sun come out first. And this is all about that new energy, those new beginnings, that revitalization, that clarity, this celebration, this new lease on life. Beautiful, beautiful energy. And I also want to point out that the Sun represents Leo energy. And in Leo season, I believe it's August 11th, we are going to have a very beautiful conjunction of Jupiter and Venus. This could be the luckiest day of the year, potentially, or just a very powerful time to manifest. Actually, I think it's August 12th. It might be different based on your time zone, so kind of double check there. But the Venus-Jupiter conjunction in Cancer is going to be very, very powerful. So there could be something around this time where you're feeling really good or very creative, or just feeling this new life or renewed life force. But you might be feeling it throughout this year, or just reconnecting with that, regardless of, again, when you're watching this or when this all plays out. The time is kind of fluid here. We do also have the Ace of Swords at the bottom of the deck, which does tell me there is some clarity. Some of you are making some big decisions, and I think this is a decision about you committing to yourself, you committing to some sort of calling or path. There is a lot of clarity. You're seeing things that maybe were so obvious you just didn't clock them before, and it's like, oh, duh, this is who I am. This is what I want. This is who I want to be. Like, all of these things are kind of just, they're making more sense. And I feel like you already know, those of you who are supposed to be in this really profound relationship with yourself and with your calling, because that is also a relationship for those of us who feel it. For those of you who feel you have a special calling, I feel like there is some sort of growth or clarity or news or announcement that is going to be happening. And your words are very powerful. Of course, they need to be followed with your action and kind of congruent with your actions, but your words do have a power. And the story you tell yourself has a power. And some of you are rewriting this story, the story of your life. You are literally, this almost sounds cliche, but it's like you're quantum leaping, you're timeline jumping, because you are coming into this empowered energy where you are being more proactive and you are taking steps towards what it is that is right for you. And that might surprise you. It might surprise you what feels aligned for you. That is also something I feel I need to say as well. It's going to make sense. You're going to be like, well, this kind of makes sense. 10 of Cups underneath this. 10 of Cups with the Hermit and the Star. Wow, I'm not even going to look at any more of these cards, but all of this just feels like, yeah, there's this overflowing happiness, this joy. There is finding your connection, your community. But it's very much from this self-awareness, this introspection, this wisdom that is gained through the Hermit and also the Star. It may come from an ending, because the Star is the card that comes after the Tower, but there's a healing, there's a rejuvenation. You are seriously healing yourself right now, and it is going to be reflected in things like your relationships. It's going to be reflected in your career. Like all of the main stages of your life, I think are really going to be growing and shifting. And I do want to kind of put this within a year sort of time frame. I'm curious to actually kind of pull a spread for you, but I kind of feel like the messages are already here. But let's get a little more clear. Let's see what else is going on for the collective at this time. Maybe we can kind of clarify what all of this is about. And as I'm shuffling, I do just want to give my general reminder that these are general readings. So not all of the messages that come forward are necessarily going to be meant for you. They may also be meant for somebody who you are connected with. So you may feel called to share this. But it really feels like it's important for you to trust your own intuition and discernment as you listen to these messages, regardless of whether it's on my channel or another kind of tarot or astrology channel. It may even feel good to pause this video and really connect with your body and your spirit so you can really feel what is meant for you. I do also have links in the description of this video. You can actually get 30% off chart readings with me through the month of January using the code NEWYEAR25. Just make sure that you apply that before you submit your payment. And that way you can really kind of understand more how this astrology is going to impact you in 2025 and beyond. What are the messages? What are the messages for this collective, for this group? What are the messages for you? Wow. We really are coming out with some big cards already. Okay, so the first card that came out was the King of Swords, and this is coming out from the past energy. And it's funny because I feel like some of you have almost been in your head. You've been rationalizing, well, this is who I am, this is what I have to do, this is what it means to be in this job or in this relationship. And there was kind of this checking out of your heart and being very much in your head about it. Intellectualizing, I think, is the word I'm looking for. It feels kind of disembodied, if I could be so honest. And what you've kind of been learning, or what's been coming clearer with the Hierophant and the Emperor, is your own kind of spiritual authority or power. You're also figuring out what traditions apply to your own life, what beliefs make sense to you. But I also feel like with this Emperor, there's like this heart connection, like really connecting to the heart. And I think also one of the things that's coming up in the beginning of 2025 is kind of this like healing around gender, or like at least conversations around gender. Um, kind of with Mars going retrograde in the sign of Cancer, I think there is sort of like a masculine healing crisis, regardless of whether you're a man or a masculine person, or even just in relationship with masculine people. And obviously that word is so loose, it's kind of abstract. But it's almost like there's this healing around wounds from patriarchy, or from masculinity, patrilineal wounds, or wounds from your father's side of the family. That could all be stuff that's being healed or sorted through. But it's like getting back to the heart of it is what's important. And the card that's actually coming kind of central right now, which is sort of interesting, is the Seven of Swords. And sometimes this is a card of deception, or kind of sneakiness, gathering resources, especially behind another person's back. Kind of stringing together something, making a nest for yourself. But what I really get with the Seven of Swords is like almost a self-deception. Like you internalize what other people told you you had to be, or what you had to do, or how you had to express yourself. And you're kind of realizing you don't need to do that anymore. You've been acting out conditioning from childhood, or from your early life, or another relationship, regardless of whether you're in that relationship now or not. It feels like you're becoming your own person, your own sort of guide or teacher. I do also get a message for some of you. There was a teacher that you connected with in the past, and you may have really aligned with them ideologically, but it was almost like that kind of expression, don't meet your heroes, because you kind of see their flaws, their humanity. I almost get the sense there was this leader with the King of Swords, Hierophant, and Emperor. I actually do want to say like a spiritual figure who taught you a lot, but there was also a lot of toxicity in those teachings too. And so you're kind of figuring out what is worth keeping, what is worth taking and making something new with. What is this nest for myself that I'm creating? And maybe you're still in this process right now of kind of recognizing, oh, actually this person has some dynamics or some traits that I don't love. I honestly almost want to say this feels like almost culty, or like very like new agey. And new agey in the sense that it kind of supports colonialism and capitalism, and keeping people comfortable with the way things are, as opposed to translating into kind of a more just world, or making actions, being proactive. Yeah, I feel like there was almost like narcissistic abuse from somebody, and I actually do feel like it could also represent a kind of public figure, especially someone in sort of spiritual or self-help kind of world. And you're kind of taking some things that you learned or gained from them, or maybe taking some things from your ancestry and discarding the rest. But there is a new beginning here. There is a new start with the Ace of Pentacles. And this, it's funny because in terms of timing, I often think of this card as a year. It is a year commitment. It can be things like contracts, or leases. It feels like this is a time where you are committing to things that are good for you and aligned for you and your values. I feel like that's something that can't be understated here. Like what you value, what you can stand for, what you can't stand for. Those are things that are going to be really important for you to clarify. Especially with the astrology of the next couple of decades, just gotta say. Tell me more about this Ace of Pentacles. We have the Eight of Wands. So yeah, some of you are beginning new work. And I feel like it's just the beginning. There are already some positive signs of progress and growth, but I think you are coming into new routines or habits or ways of working that work for you specifically. And again, that kind of feels tied to like the self-helpy sort of world too, where I feel like we're kind of just given, this is the routine you need to follow to be successful. But this feels more individualized, more about you and how you work and finding those routines and rhythms. But there's like a flow here. There's a momentum. I feel like there's a lot of abundance that's coming in for you. And this abundance, this stability, this security is actually going to help you build a foundation for all the other areas of your life too. We love to see this. And it's like you're able to like come into your work or into your role or into your community from a very authentic place. And it doesn't feel like you're hiding parts of yourself or holding parts of you back anymore. That also feels important here. Where I feel like some of you have kind of been in your head, you've been rationalizing or justifying like, oh, well, this is just where I am. I can't really talk about these things or do these certain things. It's like, no. I feel like you're calling things out a little bit more, or calling things in, calling people in, maybe, with the Seven of Swords. And you feel more alive, you feel more productive. You have more energy to work on things. We do have the Five of Cups coming up in reverse. Something that once would have felt like a loss, or once did feel like a loss, is now being seen as a lesson. And that is something you are gaining from the future as well. Especially if there was a feeling of being betrayed or misled, or even deceiving yourself. It's going to be part of a story or part of something that is going to help you help other people or help you fulfill your purpose or what gives you a sense of meaning. Wow. Seven of Cups in reverse as well here. Yeah, you're seeing things really, really clearly. It's going back to the sun. And I actually get the Four of Swords in reverse. Ooh. What was comfortable wasn't actually resting for you. You were comfortably uncomfortable. And you convinced yourself you were okay with things that you're just not okay with anymore. It's just not compatible with you anymore. And there's a lot of growth that comes from that. Coming back to this sun and this Ace of Swords. I didn't put it back in the deck. It felt like this was going to be resonant throughout. We know there is this beautiful blessing coming in. Can we get more of a sense, actually? What are the blessings that are coming in? They told me don't rush this. You're acknowledging beliefs and patterns and limitations that you subscribe to. And it wasn't actually easier. You convinced yourself this was the way you had to be, or this is what was simpler. Wow. King of Pentacles. Yeah, you are standing in your own power. You are building something that almost feels larger than you. I feel like for a lot of you, this is about your career. There could be a promotion, a new role. Maybe some of you are entrepreneurs. There's some sort of recognition that is happening for you. There's some sort of growth. And it's also very much like there's no imposter syndrome around this either. Like, you worked to get there. To get here. And you did it while keeping your authenticity intact, or you're going to do it by keeping your authenticity intact. And for those of you who have this idea or calling, Don't let that be the one that got away. Don't let yourself wondering what would have been if I took that chance, if I took that risk. Any other messages for this group right now? Okay. Death in reverse. There has been a change you've been resisting. Yeah, I kind of picked up on that with the 5 of Cups, 7 of Cups, and 4 of Swords in reverse. There's change that you've been afraid of. But I gotta tell you guys, it's not death. It's death in reverse. This ending isn't a death. It's when you start living. This is so beautiful. This is so, so beautiful. Say yes to your life. Say yes to living. Even if it scares you, even if it means walking away from things that feels really frightening to walk away from. Wow. And doing things in a different way. Not abandoning yourself anymore. Yum. Yum, yum, yum. I'm going to pull an animal card for you as well. What is the animal message for this group at this time? What is the energy for this group to embody? This is also going to kind of give us a sense of your gifts that you are coming into, maybe part of this calling. Okay, we have a few. Okay. So, interesting. I had a couple of cards come out together, so I actually have 4 cards. I have the turtle and the rabbit. This kind of reminds me of the story of the turtle and the hare. You know, it's a marathon, not a race. The rabbit got cocky because it was so much faster than the turtle that was going slow and steady. But, you know, kind of tires itself out, takes a nap, and the turtle ends up winning. That's just something that kind of comes to mind with these two. But also, like the rabbit, especially this depiction of the rabbit, can signify being paralyzed with fear and needing to ground yourself, needing to connect to nature or do things that bring you back to your body and to really listen. Because sometimes when you're in a state of panic, you just kind of get in this wind tunnel. And like, I feel like you're getting out of this state of inertia and moving forward, which is actually funny that we have the bear and the firefly. Because the bear represents spring. It represents coming out of this hibernation and this awakening process. And it may feel groggy at first. It may feel slow. It may feel hard, but it does come faster, or you do regain your strength. And the card that also came out with this was the firefly. So there's this kind of creative, inspired vision. Your intuition is leading you in places, even if it's kind of flashes and you might be second guessing yourself. It's important that you follow through, especially in the moments you feel inspired. Act in those moments. Do not squander those precious moments of light. I do feel like there's something with stories for some of you, or speaking, kind of connecting to the ears with the rabbit, maybe even some sort of mediumship work, some kind of messages that you were supposed to give. I get the storyteller with turtle. And I really do feel like there's something creative or spiritually connected with the firefly and the bear. This bear is also reminding me of this King of Pentacles, this very solid, established energy, someone who creates stability not only for themselves, but also teaches others how to do that too. And you will kind of lead by example. I'm also just looking at the time, and we are right at the end here, so I do hope that this was helpful. Definitely be sure to hit like and subscribe if you've made it this far. Give a little bear emoji or sun emoji. Let me know that you've made it to the end here. My goodness, you are a trooper. And of course, if you want to book a reading with me or an energy work session, you can do that on my website, which is linked in the description here. You can get 30% off chart readings using the code NEWYEAR25. It's on the top of my website if you forget. And I will see you all next time. I'm sending you lots of love and good energy your way. Take care.